Ladies and gentlemen, let's get real for a moment. Sex isn't just about instinct or passion, it's about understanding. And today, I'm sharing something that can transform intimacy, the one spot that makes 82% of women reach climax faster than the G-spot. Yes, faster. Most people focus on the G-spot, believing it's the holy grail of female pleasure. But here's the truth for many women, it's hit or miss. Science shows that there's another area often overlooked that triggers stronger, faster orgasms for the majority of women. This isn't a myth, it's anatomy, plain and simple. The spot responds to specific, gentle stimulation. The key is rhythm and pressure and understanding how the female body works. Women aren't all the same, and learning what feels right is as much about patience as technique. It's about reading cues, listening, and respecting boundaries. Here's where most people go wrong. They treat pleasure like a checklist. They focus only on the G-spot or chase what they think works. But pleasure isn't a formula, it's about connection. That's why learning this spot is empowering. It gives women control, knowledge, and confidence about their own bodies. And let's not forget the environment. Comfort, arousal, and emotional safety dramatically enhance the experience. Knowing this spot is one thing, but creating the right conditions elevates intimacy to a completely new level. Finally, communication is essential, whether with a partner or in personal exploration. Understanding your body and sharing it openly changes everything. Sexual satisfaction isn't just physical, it's mental, emotional, and relational. So remember this, there's a spot beyond the G-spot backed by science that can change the game. Learning about it, respecting it, and exploring it with care can lead to experiences that are deeper, faster, and more fulfilling than most people ever imagine. Knowledge is power, and in this case, it's pure pleasure. Let's be honest. Female pleasure has always been surrounded by mystery, myths, and a lot of confusion. For decades, people have focused on the G-spot as if it were some magical, universal trigger for orgasm, and while it works for some women, for many, it's inconsistent at best. What most people don't realize is that female anatomy is far more nuanced than a single spot. There's a powerful area that often goes unnoticed, an area that can make 82% of women reach climax faster than the G-spot ever could. This isn't speculation. This is backed by science and the observations of experts who study sexual health and female anatomy closely. Understanding this begins with shifting perspective. Pleasure is not a one-size-fits-all experience, and no two bodies respond exactly the same way. The overlooked spot, when stimulated correctly, activates a complex network of nerves that sends signals straight to the brain in a way that is faster and more intense than traditional methods. It's not about brute force. It's about knowing exactly how the body responds, the right rhythm, the right pressure, and the timing that creates an almost immediate response. Many women have described it as an awakening, a release of tension and energy they didn't even realize was stored. Yet, despite its effectiveness, this area is frequently ignored. Most education around female pleasure centers only on the clitoris or the G-spot, leaving women and their partners searching for something that feels natural and satisfying. That's why knowledge is so empowering. Learning about this spot is not just about achieving orgasm faster. It's about understanding the female body on a deeper level. When a woman knows how her body works, when she can recognize the sensations that lead to climax, it changes everything. It transforms sexual experiences from routine to extraordinary. It's also crucial to understand that stimulation isn't mechanical. It's subtle, responsive, and intuitive. Women respond differently depending on mood, comfort, arousal, and environment. That's why the most effective approach is not just about targeting a spot. It's about creating the right conditions, paying attention to cues, and exploring in a way that is both safe and consensual. The act becomes as much about emotional connection and communication as it is about physical sensation. The beauty of this knowledge is that it levels the playing field. Women no longer have to rely on guessing or hoping that their partner finds the right spot. They can take control, communicate clearly, and guide themselves or their partners toward experiences that are faster, deeper, and far more satisfying than the inconsistent G-spot method. This spot isn't a gimmick. It's a scientifically supported pathway to pleasure that has the power to transform intimacy. By embracing this knowledge, women are not only reclaiming control over their sexual experiences, but also breaking free from myths and misinformation that have existed for too long. Understanding this area is a journey of self-awareness, empowerment, and ultimate satisfaction, and it's a journey that can completely redefine what it means to experience pleasure. When it comes to understanding female pleasure, it's easy to get lost in myths and misconceptions. For years, the G-spot has been glorified as the ultimate pleasure center, a secret treasure hidden within the female body that supposedly guarantees orgasm. But science tells a different story. While the G spot can provide stimulation for some, it's often inconsistent, and for many women, it simply doesn't deliver the reliable results that everyone expects. That's where the real science comes in, where urologists and sexual health experts have studied anatomy and discovered a different area that responds with remarkable speed and intensity. This is not theory, it's backed by medical observation, research, and thousands of real experiences. The key to this revelation is understanding the anatomy behind it. Women's bodies are designed to respond to stimulation in specific ways. Nerve endings are not evenly distributed, and certain areas have a higher concentration of sensitive fibers that are wired directly to pleasure centers in the brain. The spot I'm talking about taps into this system in a way the G spot often cannot. When activated correctly, it sends powerful signals that trigger rapid arousal and can lead to orgasm faster than traditional methods. The stimulation is precise, intentional, and responsive, which is why this area has such a dramatic effect. Many people make the mistake of treating pleasure mechanically. They think that if they touch one spot in a certain way, results will automatically follow. But science shows that female arousal is much more complex than that. Hormonal cycles, mood, comfort, and even emotional state all influence how the body responds. The overlooked spot works because it doesn't rely solely on pressure or motion. It relies on understanding how the female nervous system reacts. Experts emphasize that the right angle, rhythm, and environment can amplify pleasure, making the experience far more intense and satisfying than a simple G spot approach ever could. What makes this so revolutionary is the empowerment it brings. Women who learn about this spot gain an understanding of their own anatomy that allows them to communicate what they need, explore with confidence, and achieve pleasure on their terms. For many, it's a liberating experience, a moment of self-awareness that rewrites everything they thought they knew about their own bodies. It's also transformative for partners who can learn to listen and respond rather than rely on guesswork or assumptions. Finally, science reminds us that pleasure isn't just physical, it's neurological, emotional, and relational. Understanding this spot means understanding the brain-body connection. When stimulation reaches the right place in the right way, the response is almost immediate. Women feel sensations more vividly, climax faster, and experience deeper, more satisfying orgasms. It's not a gimmick, it's biology. Knowledge of this area opens the door to experiences that are faster, more intense, and more fulfilling than what most people have previously imagined. By embracing science over myth, women gain the tools to take control of their pleasure, and partners gain the insight to truly enhance intimacy. This is how understanding anatomy, backed by medical research, changes everything about sexual satisfaction. When it comes to pleasure, knowing about the spot is only the beginning. The real power lies in understanding how to activate it effectively, and this is where most people miss the mark. Female arousal isn't a switch that flips instantly. It's a symphony of physical and emotional signals, and stimulating this area requires attention, patience, and intuition. The first step is awareness. Women need to become familiar with their own bodies to explore and understand how this spot responds to different kinds of touch. This is not about rushing or forcing anything. It's about gentle experimentation and learning to recognize the subtle cues that indicate increasing arousal. The key is to start slow, building anticipation and connection rather than jumping straight to intense stimulation. The next step is precision. Unlike the G spot, which often requires a firm, repetitive motion, this area responds best to a combination of light pressure, circular movements, and rhythmic pulses. It's about discovering the angle and pressure that feel right for the individual. Every woman's body is unique, and part of the excitement is learning exactly what triggers that fast, intense pleasure. Sometimes it's a gentle massage, sometimes a firmer touch, but always responsive, never rushed. The stimulation should feel exploratory, almost playful, as if the body is being invited to respond rather than being commanded. Timing is equally critical. Stimulating this spot in isolation rarely produces maximum results. It's most effective when combined with overall arousal, foreplay, emotional connection, and a relaxed, safe environment. The body responds more quickly when it is comfortable, when the mind is present, and when anticipation has built up. Experts emphasize that this is not just physical. The brain plays a major role in amplifying pleasure. The signals sent from this area to the brain are enhanced when the woman is relaxed, focused, and emotionally engaged. In essence, Activating the spot successfully is as much about creating the right conditions as it is about physical technique. Communication is another essential component. Whether exploring alone or with a partner, knowing how to express what feels good, what pressure is enjoyable, and when to adjust or change technique makes the experience far more effective. This is an empowering practice, allowing women to take control of their pleasure while helping partners understand how to respond intuitively. Encouragement, feedback, and responsiveness create a feedback loop that intensifies the sensations, making the experience faster, deeper, and more satisfying than traditional methods. Finally, patience and practice are crucial. Like any skill, mastering the activation of the spot takes time. Women should embrace the journey of exploration, knowing that each session is a chance to learn more about their own bodies and responses. With consistency, awareness, and attention to both physical and emotional cues, the results can be transformative. This is not just about achieving orgasm faster, it's about enhancing overall sexual satisfaction, intimacy, and confidence. Understanding the step-by-step activation of this spot opens the door to experiences that are powerful, liberating, and deeply pleasurable, and it allows women to reclaim control over their own pleasure in a way that feels natural, respectful, and exhilarating. When it comes to female pleasure, one of the biggest barriers to satisfaction is simply misunderstanding the body and making common mistakes that prevent optimal arousal. The first and most prevalent mistake is over-reliance on the G-spot. For years, women and their partners have been taught to focus exclusively on this area, convinced that it holds the key to orgasm. While it can provide pleasure for some, the G-spot is not universally effective, and many women find that this focus leaves them frustrated or unsatisfied. This is where the importance of understanding alternative pleasure points comes in. The spot we are discussing, which makes 82% of women climax faster than the G-spot, is often ignored entirely because of this narrow focus. Another mistake is approaching stimulation with the wrong mindset. Pleasure is not a race or a task to be completed. It is an experience to be savored. Many people make the error of being too mechanical, too focused on doing it right, rather than being present in the moment. This can create tension, which paradoxically makes climax more difficult. Women's bodies respond best to relaxation, anticipation, and gentle, responsive touch. Ignoring this creates a barrier to the natural, rapid pleasure this spot can provide. It's not about speed or intensity initially, it's about connection and attunement. A third common error is neglecting the emotional and environmental context. The brain plays an enormous role in sexual arousal, and if a woman does not feel safe, comfortable, or emotionally connected, her body may not respond optimally. Many partners underestimate the power of foreplay, emotional reassurance, and creating a relaxed atmosphere. Stimulation of this overlooked area is most effective when the woman feels secure, appreciated, and fully engaged in the experience. Ignoring this essential aspect can dramatically reduce effectiveness and leave women feeling disconnected rather than satisfied. Timing and rhythm are another area where mistakes are often made. People often assume that continuous repetitive pressure is the key to climax. In reality, this spot responds best to nuanced, intentional stimulation. Variations in pressure, angle, and rhythm are critical. Monotony or excessive force can dull sensitivity, while careful attention to what elicits the strongest response accelerates pleasure naturally. Learning to read these subtle cues is essential for unlocking its full potential. Finally, many women and their partners fail to communicate openly about what feels good. Silence or hesitation can turn exploration into frustration. Asking for feedback, expressing desires, and guiding each other fosters both emotional intimacy and physical satisfaction. This is not about embarrassment, it's about empowerment. The more comfortable a woman is expressing her needs, the faster and more intensely she can experience pleasure. By avoiding these common mistakes, over-focusing on the G-spot, being mechanical rather than mindful, neglecting emotional context, ignoring rhythm, and failing to communicate, women and their partners can unlock an entirely new level of sexual satisfaction. Understanding these mistakes is not about blame, it's about education. By replacing misconceptions with knowledge, women can explore their bodies confidently, activate the overlooked pleasure spot effectively, and achieve faster, deeper, and more fulfilling orgasms. Awareness, patience, and intentionality are the keys to transforming sexual experiences from routine to extraordinary. Empowerment through knowledge is one of the most transformative aspects of understanding female pleasure. For too long, myths and misinformation have shaped women's experiences. leaving them unsure of their own bodies and dependent on guesswork from partners or societal expectations. But when women learn about this overlooked spot, the one that can make 82% of women reach climax faster than the G spot, they gain more than just physical pleasure. They gain control, confidence, and a deeper connection to themselves. Knowledge transforms uncertainty into self-assurance. It shifts the experience from passive expectation to active exploration. Understanding the body, its responses, and the pathways to pleasure gives women the power to guide their own experiences, making intimacy more fulfilling and deeply personal. This empowerment begins with awareness. Simply knowing that there is an area beyond the G spot that is highly responsive allows women to stop relying on chance or hope. They can begin to explore intentionally, understanding the nuances of pressure, angle, and rhythm that stimulate the spot most effectively. Awareness reduces frustration, increases confidence, and makes the sexual experience more enjoyable from the outset. Women no longer have to feel that climax is something that happens to them or something they must wait for. They can actively participate in creating it. Education also fosters communication. A woman who understands her body can share this knowledge with her partner, creating a collaborative experience rather than a guessing game. Open, clear dialogue about what feels good, what stimulation works, and when adjustments are needed strengthens intimacy, trust, and emotional connection. Partners can become more attuned listeners and responders, guided by knowledge rather than assumption. This is crucial because sexual satisfaction is as much about emotional connection as physical stimulation. When women take ownership of their pleasure, both partners benefit and intimacy reaches a higher level of fulfillment. Empowerment through knowledge also removes shame and embarrassment from sexual exploration. Many women have been conditioned to feel hesitant or self-conscious about expressing desire, but understanding the science and anatomy behind their pleasure normalizes these feelings. It allows women to embrace their sexuality without guilt, to experiment safely, and to celebrate their bodies as sources of pleasure and joy. This is liberating on a profound level, transforming intimacy into a space of confidence, curiosity, and joy rather than anxiety or doubt. Finally, this empowerment extends beyond individual experiences. Women who are confident in their sexual knowledge carry this self-assurance into all aspects of life. They understand that pleasure is natural, that their desires are valid, and that taking time for self-care and intimacy is an essential part of well-being. Learning about this powerful spot is not just a lesson in anatomy, it's a lesson in self-respect, self-awareness, and ownership of one's own body. It fosters independence, confidence, and a positive relationship with sexuality that benefits both personal growth and intimate relationships. Ultimately, empowerment through knowledge transforms the way women experience intimacy. It replaces frustration with clarity, uncertainty with confidence, and passivity with active, joyful exploration. Understanding this overlooked pleasure spot is more than a sexual revelation. It is a path to self-discovery, fulfillment, and a deeper connection to both oneself and one's partner. Knowledge is power, and in this case, it is pleasure, confidence, and freedom combined. Lifestyle and communication play a critical role in female sexual satisfaction, and understanding this overlooked pleasure spot is only part of the equation. Even with precise knowledge of anatomy and stimulation, the full experience of pleasure depends on creating the right conditions for the body and mind to respond. Women's sexual responses are not isolated. They are influenced by physical health, mental state, emotional comfort, and the quality of connection with a partner. Ignoring these factors can make even the most effective stimulation less impactful, while attention to lifestyle and communication can transform pleasure from ordinary to extraordinary. One important lifestyle factor is overall health and well-being. Nutrition, exercise, sleep, and stress levels all affect blood flow, hormone balance, and nerve sensitivity, which in turn influence sexual arousal. When the body is nourished, rested, and energized, stimulation of this high response spot becomes far more effective. Conversely, fatigue, poor circulation, or chronic stress can dull sensations, reduce sensitivity, and slow responses. Women who prioritize self-care in their daily routines often notice a direct improvement in sexual satisfaction. It's a reminder that pleasure is not just a momentary act, it is connected to the broader context of health and lifestyle. Mental and emotional state are equally vital. A relaxed, focused mind allows the nervous system to respond fully to stimulation. Anxiety, distraction, or emotional tension can interfere with arousal and make climax more difficult. Creating a calm, comfortable environment free from interruptions, stress, or pressure is essential. Lighting, ambience, and privacy all contribute, but so does the mindset of both partners. A woman who feels safe, appreciated, and emotionally connected will experience the stimulation more vividly, often leading to faster, more intense orgasms. Communication is the bridge between knowledge and experience. Even when a woman understands her own body, she must convey her needs, preferences, and boundaries to her partner. Clear, confident expression about what feels pleasurable, what pressure works, and when adjustments are needed creates a collaborative and responsive experience. Likewise, attentive listening and responsiveness from the partner enhance trust, intimacy, and satisfaction. This dynamic interaction ensures that stimulation is not mechanical but intuitive, adapting to the woman's responses in real time. The result is a shared experience that is both emotionally and physically fulfilling. Another key element is pacing. Lifestyle and communication go hand in understanding when to slow down, when to build anticipation, and when to intensify stimulation. The journey to climax is rarely linear. Awareness of timing, reading cues, and adjusting technique based on both physical and emotional feedback dramatically enhances effectiveness. Women who are in tune with their own rhythms and can communicate these signals to their partners often experience orgasms that are deeper, faster, and more satisfying than through trial and error alone. Ultimately, lifestyle choices and open communication transform sexual encounters from routine interactions to profoundly satisfying experiences. Knowing about the powerful, overlooked pleasure spot is only part of the journey. Integrating it with health, conscious living, emotional awareness, and collaborative communication maximizes pleasure. When women embrace these elements, they reclaim full control over their sexual experiences, creating an environment where arousal, satisfaction, and intimacy thrive naturally. Pleasure, in this sense, becomes a holistic experience, one that connects body, mind, and relationship in a way that is empowering, joyful, and deeply fulfilling.